Hey, we are, as far as I know, live after the West Virginia win against Albany. This is WVU football going deep. I am Forrest Poston. Uh, I haven't checked. Uh, I don't have YouTube up to check for any sound problems. So if there is anything going wrong, please let me know. But of course, if there's no sound, you can't hear this. Let me just type a comment here real quick. Uh, Although, hey, there's nobody in here at the moment. So I'm talking to myself, but I have been doing that. Uh, well, probably since I learned to talk, maybe before. Anyway, there was an awful lot to like in the game, particularly with the offense. There were some things of concern. We'll cover both sides and see what to think maybe for next week. Hey, we have somebody. Um, I got here a little too quickly, I guess. Anyway, I got off to a fast start after Traylon Ray bobbled the initial kickoff and then a quick penalty. So starting rather deep and then just, okay, that's fine. A little longer to drive. We'll do it anyway. Green was sharp. Missed a couple of passes. Everybody does. Uh, but they weren't short passes. What he missed, passes he should have hit, but they were downfield passes. He was, was it 17 to 23, something in that range, which I believe is over 70%. And a lot of those were still downfield passes, but he was hitting the short and intermediate. Took his time, made the reads, made the pass, did it under pressure when he had to. Receivers had a couple of drops, but also a couple of really nifty catches, particularly one by Ray on the sidelines. Preston Fox was not able to catch a pass while falling down, which is actually a bit of a surprise for him. He has almost made a habit of doing that, but had to like pretty much everything about Green. He was also running more when he should. And it is that fine line between patience and cutting loose. And tonight, he said in the post-game interview that Allen got on him after last week's game for not, playing like himself. So that we did get that, really good touchdown run late in the first half that helped reset the tone. Donaldson, really enjoyed seeing that. He was consistent, he was strong, he was patient. All things that a running back needs to be. And then managed to cut loose with a nice, I think, 40-some yard run. I wrote it down someplace, but on another page. Went for 125 yards and carried pretty much the whole second half. White only got, I think, 2 more runs after that fumble. And that was White's fault. He did not secure the ball. He had players closing in all around, and the ball was still flying out wide. It was an easy play by Albany. And if they hadn't made that play, they would have heard about it from their coaches. So White is going to be hearing about that. And of course, had to come at the end of 37-yard run, 39-yard run, something like that. Might have led to a lot more carries for White. But Brown does not tolerate that kind of mistake. and Donaldson had the hot hand. So there you go. That's the way they play it. Had a really nice touchdown pass to Cole Taylor. It was right on the money and just a little high. Taylor didn't really have to jump, but he had to reach up, which means for everybody else, it's a tough get, even if they're in coverage. So liked all of that. Offensive line was generally good. Runs up the middle were relatively few, and only one of them was successful. That may continue to be an issue that they have to work on. Outside runs working well. And, hey, don't forget that Donaldson has more than enough speed to get to the outside. Whether it's right off tackle or going wider, he can get there. And he also showed tonight that he knows when to follow his blockers and wait for something to open. He was very patient. Whether it ended up getting a 4-yard run, 10-yard run, he made the right decisions. Something, the coaches have talked about a lot. Make the right decisions. The offense generally did. Also saw a couple of passes downfield to Gallagher. That is something we've been waiting for. Did not break loose for big runs after, but hey, you can't have everything. But that, the passes were, seeing him downfield was good. Day Farmer had one catch and one dropped touchdown, probably thinking about the end zone. He didn't take his eyes off the ball, but I don't know if his mind was on the ball. That's okay. That'll be corrected. Let's take a quick look here. I think the Albany players, with that coach, I think the Albany players focus on the game. But the announcers did talk about Albany players. Actually, even I guess the coach has said that Albany is a developmental program. Similar, it's West Virginia is the same in some respects, although hold on to more of their players. And with West Virginia, it's more of the number 2, number 3 players who go someplace else now. But yeah, the Albany players, hey, they wanted to show what they could do against the P14. Whether they're looking to play someplace else, looking to get attention for the pros, but they clearly were focused on this game and not just, treating it as a means to an end. If you do that, you end up, frequently screwing up. And of course, can't hold it against them if they are looking at it that way. Yeah, Adam, that's. I was going to get there. I'll go ahead and get there. It is kind of the obvious. I don't know what's going on. I know those players are better than that. They have to be better than that because they were pretty bad most of the time. Players were open all over the field. Inside, outside, short, long. Now, got to admit also, there were some of those big catches, the guy was covered. One of them, double coverage. Both players were there, and the quarterback put the ball in the one spot that he could, and the receiver caught it and held it when he went to the ground. Only thing I could say is one of the defenders, Wilson was coming from the side, so he did not have a chance to knock, but I don't remember whoever else was in coverage on that one could have tried to get a hand in. I'd have to go back to see whether or not they were really in position to do that. But it wasn't just one player on defense. Hollis got beaten badly by a very simple post route. I don't know why. I don't know. You know, I assume the coaches will be able to look at it and figure out why. Hollis probably knows why by this time. But some corrections have to be made. Now, of course, almost the entire defensive backfield is moving up in some regards. And I can, Northwestern had a good passing defense last year, but they were not playing a lot of passing teams. Now, of course, we played Penn State and Albany, but something has to be figured out. Now, on the other hand, the defensive backs tackle well. Fagan had a nice stop. A couple of calls on pass interference, one of which was, I think, a garbage call, and the other was an iffy call. But, and I want to give credit to Tarnu for his tackle on kickoff for the second half. That was a highlight tackle. That one will be shown over and over again, and it may be used for a class in how to tackle. And I know a lot of people want, Brown to have the kickoff in the end zone every time and just get a touchback. And I hate that. And I think Brown hates that. And we saw why you do it this way. I think they had one return to the 31. So plus 6 yards on that one. Mostly they were stopped inside the 20 or maybe sometimes inside the 15. That is why you try to kick it to the 2-yard line off to the side. Will it work against higher quality teams? We still have to wait and see. Penn State didn't have, well, of course, we didn't kick to Penn State a lot. But I don't know what's up with most of the defense. The defensive line got pressure. TJ Jackson had a couple of nice, tackles for loss, or was in on a half sack. But the pressure is too often the pressure is not getting there, and they still didn't contain the quarterback. For the first half, things just opened wide up the middle. Second half, he was able to roll out, and that's usually the end, coming in at a bad angle. I saw Martin do that a couple of times, and he certainly should know better. He took a very bad angle. He had a straight shot to the quarterback, except he took an angle straight at the quarterback, which allowed him to roll outside. If he angles just a little differently and the quarterback tries to do that, it's a sack. Or you force the quarterback to move up the middle and somebody else gets the sack. So it's still not just the new guys playing badly. It's guys that we know are better. Now, I said last week, we know Green is better than he played against Penn State, and he showed it. So I think more and more of the guys we know are good will get back to their A game. Folks, if you do have questions, put them up there. Questions, comments. I can do all of the talking. I have certainly been known to do that. Did it once for 7 hours. But that was free refills on the coffee, and I could drink coffee without blowing my glucose. So, or blowing my adrenal glands too, for that matter. I heard Burke's name, I think, called once. Don't recall him on any blitzes. I don't know if they're just saving that. It's something they talked about so much. They did bring more pressure tonight, but I don't. Of course, I have to watch the tape to see if Burks came with pressure and just didn't get close enough to get mentioned. But when you bring, the when you bring that player, the spear, you want him to get there. You don't bring him just to be in the area. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Did not hear Trey Lathan's name called. Saw him on the field. I don't know. I mean, Trotter was getting mentioned. Beiser got a couple of mentions, and Cutter was playing great at the end of the game when he's in there with actually mostly the number threes. Erico got mentioned. Lathan was the one who just, I don't know if it is how they're designing the defense that he's not getting that many big opportunities, but I really, really want to hear some of these guys called more. We'll have to see kind of what's up with that. And of course, we're going to see it. We got a relatively interesting game coming up next week. And of course, I will be doing a live show after, so I hope you'll show up for that. Let's see. Yeah, mentioned a number of the good things. Too many drops. QB contain was bad, and the receivers were just open everywhere. Now, Sean Martin did seem to have a better second half. Again, angles, he was forcing the quarterback to move, but there was nobody over on the other side to take advantage of it. Martin came in, put pressure, and the quarterback rolled to the right and had room. They did force the quarterback to throw some balls away, but there were still far too many completions. And if Albany hadn't had some drops and a couple of bad passes, things could have been even worse. Although the offense had the game in control. The two stops, one, White's fumble. The other was when Green mishandled, he dropped the ball when he was trying to get ready to pass. But other than that, the offense was simply scoring when they wanted to. I like the mixture of plays. 4-yard runs, 10-yard runs, short pass, short, medium, and long passes. They did all of that, everything in the passing game. Had some screens going out. Green was on target. And, right side, middle, left side, Green was on target. Gotta like that. Now, there was one pass to Fox in the end zone, I think third quarter. And it was a touch issue. Green threw the ball too flat, did not give Fox a chance to run under it. That was kind of, back to last year, but it was one pass. So I am not going to ask him to be perfect. I also found it interesting when asked about his game, he said it was all right. He was not overly excited. He was calm. He's focused. And I think by now he's thinking about Pitt. We have 13 people here. We covered the secondary already. And unfortunately, when you say secondary, you don't have to single anybody out because it was pretty much the entire secondary. Wilson had a couple of decent hits. Gallagher did tip one ball away. I think that was the only time where the ball was essentially on target and the defender made the play to keep it from being complete. It was just not pretty. Now, I know against Duquesne last year, they already had changes in mind for the defense, but did not want to show them. Maybe the case again this year. We'll see how they adapt. Now, late in the game, we did have guys, particularly the defensive line. Gabriel was in there. Kinsler was in there. So we're looking, generally speaking, at the number threes on the depth chart, and they weren't very good for a significant stretch. They let Albany run very well, which Albany had not been able to do earlier, but they did tighten up at the end of the game. And oh Lord, the last play, that poor snap, poor handling of the snap, neither the players, the coaches, and the fans are not going to like that ending. It doesn't matter that it was 49-14, and even if they'd thrown a touchdown pass, it would have made no real difference. That would have been for them a better way to go out. I'm glad Albany didn't score, but at this, I wouldn't wish that on them. That just sucks as an ending. We're down to 10, so somebody's not all that happy. No problems with the motion. I don't know how many of those were the type of timing motion that was a particular problem, but we did not have any goofs really on offense. Again, focused, that balance between being relaxed and being prepared, which is what we didn't have last week. That balance. Started off so well. Yeah. Green had 2 blocks on the early runs by White, including he had a key block on Green's or on White's touchdown run. So yeah, that is Garrett Green. Make the decision, throw the pass when it's right, take off and run, and being willing to block. And you can't ask him not to do that just to avoid injury. Green plays the whole game. He's not just a quarterback, he's a football player. And that's why the fans love him. It's why the coaches love him. It's why his teammates love him. Or it's one reason anyway. Oh gosh, that's why I turned the pages too far and had turned back to the Penn State game. Boy, some things weren't looking quite right. Really would like, do people just not care about the game enough to ask questions, or is the fact that the secondary had problems the only thing you wanted to talk about? Let's see here. I've talked about most of those things. Now, after that fast start in the first half, the team did lose their focus and intensity, which is predictable but still worrisome. Defense especially was not, moving as sharp until Albany scored a couple of times, and the offense definitely came out the second half kind of pissed. and they just went to work. I liked everything pretty much about that. Defense was sharper in the second half. Coach Brown said at the end of the game, they made enough plays. But enough plays against Albany is not enough against Pitt. So definitely have to up the game. Now, they were playing a lot of man, but that is something they're supposed to have the players to do now. So, I mean, maybe these guys just needed a couple of games to really get settled in. I do want to mention Green's pass to Bray when he was under pressure, and the guy smacked him down, drove him to the ground, got a penalty, but Green stood in and made a sweet downfield, big time throw. And it was better than last year. If you look at a lot of those throws, we talked a lot about getting the completion rate up, but Green and Allen both also talked about doing a better job on the downfield throws to put it where the receiver runs to it and keeps running. And they did that a lot better. The pass to Taylor was a perfect example. The pass to Bray was, I think, cleaner and sharper than what Green would have thrown last year. So, I mean, I'm as high on Garrett Green right now as I have been all summer. It was against Albany, but he showed that he can do what we wanted him to do, what he needed to improve on. Now, I did expect to see number 2 guys in a lot earlier, and I don't think it was because the game stayed close longer than expected. I have a suspicion that Coach Brown came in intending to keep the number 1 guys in for a good while, just to get that work. I obviously am not going to disagree with him. The results helped. When Markio came in for the one drive, he looked good. He looked comfortable. He was patient. He made the reads, and best I could tell, made the right decisions. They didn't all go for big yards, but positive yards. Samarco was in as tight end. I don't know if that means he's moved ahead of Dixon or if it's just because they've seen Dixon and they wanted to see Samarco. Worth noting that it was Dunbar in at running back at that point. I was hoping to see him handle the ball. Didn't get a chance for that. But that does suggest he is currently ahead of Hubbard, which isn't necessarily significant. Don't expect either of them to see a great deal of playing time unless one of them moves ahead of Anderson or something happens to a running back. Markio's touchdown run was lovely. Handled the ball well. The fake, or whether it was a fake or just an option, and made a couple of good cuts, good reads, saw the seam, and it ended up being an easy run to the end zone. I'm going to say it looked easy once all the right decisions were made. But I really liked how Markio played. And it was not just a safe offense. Coaches had said if Markio is in, they do not have to change the offense. Well, they showed that tonight. They didn't change it. Markio did well. That is very good news. That is very good news. I hope it doesn't play any significant role this season, but it is good to know Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Ryder Burton. Now, odds are we won't see him. If you can hear somebody crying in the background, it's because the door is closed and they want in. Sounds like Brule, but I'm not quite sure. I don't know why he's picked tonight. Now, he hasn't gotten his nighttime medications, but I don't think he is overly concerned about not being medicated. And no, I did not watch the Pitt game. Actually, it didn't even occur to me. I probably should have checked in on that. Even if I had, I probably wouldn't have an opinion on how to attack them. I don't do a lot of analysis of other teams. I've mentioned this once or twice because, well, I mean, I'm not good enough to do it quickly, and I'm not going to dedicate the time to do it properly. The fact that people don't do it properly is why you see so many silly things said about West Virginia. The people who think they can just glance at tape for a few minutes or glance at a few numbers and analyze a team. I trust the coaches to come up with a plan. Now, I do think it will mostly be a matter of focusing on what we do well more than what they do badly. Although Fabianic has talked about part of his job being finding what he calls the fish. It's a guy on defense that they can attack, that there's a matchup issue West Virginia can take advantage of. And I certainly wouldn't be able to spot that the way he could. But yeah, they will have some plan for who they're going to attack in key situations. But I think mostly it's going to be for the offense, consistently run the ball, pass, they may adjust the ratio a little bit, but I think, the intent will be similar to what we saw tonight. A lot of outside runs or, off tackle to outside. And passes all over the place. I did not count how many receivers. Let's see. We had Taylor, Davis, Gallagher, Farmer, Ray, Bray, Clement, Fox, I think. Did Fox catch a pass? But that's like 7 or 8 receivers. And so what? 2 tight ends and like 5 wide receivers who caught the ball, not just targets. And that, that's pretty much what I expected. Spreading around, I don't expect to see a lot of 100-yard games by the receivers. Somebody may have gotten close, with a couple of longish receptions. Of course, Taylor had the nice catch and run plus 1 or 2 other receptions. But spreading it around is what I think they should do. And it's what I think they will do pretty much every game. Of course, somebody gets a hot hand, they get more targets. What the defense will do is going to be the question. And man, I don't have the answer to that one. I don't know. Now, of course, I'm not necessarily the person to ask about that. I have not been without some type of facial hair since 1978. Oh my. Of course, actually, I first grew a mustache because I was shaving in a hurry for a date and cut above my lip and couldn't shave. And I think maybe I've had a mustache ever since that. Um, but I mean, he's said before it's a come and go thing. It was, I think, more distinct. He let it grow thicker this time. Whether or not, I don't know if anybody even asked him if he cut it off because of the Penn State loss or not. But I mean, we went through much the same thing last year. He looks different, you know, but better or worse, I won't get into that. Although since it does come and go so much, it's not really that big a shock. Had a professor back in my undergraduate years who shaved his beard over Christmas break, and I walked into his office at the beginning of the next term, and there was this guy, this clean shaven guy, sitting behind the desk smoking a cigar, and I asked him if the professor was around. So, hey, I don't remember what I said when I realized who it was, but didn't quite contain profanity, but there was a degree of shock involved. Let's see. Still no more questions. We're losing viewers. Oh no! But essentially, well, no. One other thing that unhappy with, the only time we got close to a turnover was when the quarterback threw a bad pass, but it was a little too short for Trotter to get to. By pressure on the quarterback, but we're either letting him out or letting him get at least enough time to throw the ball away. So we're not forcing bad passes. I think there was one tipped pass that was close to an interception. That's what we have to get more of. Forced bad passes, tipped passes, plus, of course, just breaking on the ball for a sort of traditional interception. No fumble. I mean, I think Albany mishandled the ball twice, but really not any opportunity to recover it. And we have to get better at that. I'm hoping we will. I kind of think, it's last year. It was a similar start. Lost to Penn State, didn't play well. Played well in some respects, not others. Now, last year against Duquesne, the first half was kind of scary. And then they came on after the weather delay, and, that was the team we wanted to see. So in some respects, getting off to a fast start offensively against Albany was an improvement on last year. And we'll see if we can continue that against Pitt. Mostly the team got better as the year went on last year. Some exceptions on defense because of the loss of Lathan. And shoot, I don't want anybody to get injured, but we are in a better spot for to handle even if that happens. So I'm happy with where things are. I'm very happy with where the offense is. If we can just get, I expect to see White holding the ball tighter next week. If he doesn't do so, even White can find his butt on the bench, and he's not going to be happy. And Neil Brown's not going to be happy, and the fans aren't going to be happy. But it's better to sit a player like that than to let them keep fumbling. Of course, you also have to play them to help them maintain confidence. So we'll see, how that plays out. But yeah, I don't really expect it to be an ongoing problem. It hadn't been a problem last year. Um, I am curious to see the defensive adjustments next week. Um, yeah, the West Virginia receivers are good. We have seen them get open. Um, so the defensive backs have been playing against good receivers and against good quarterbacks, and seemingly had been doing well enough to please the coaches most of the time. So I do tend to think this is an adjustment period. I think things will come together again. Whether or not there's still some communication issues, Tarnu and Fagan came in, well, what these days is considered late, what used to be regular time. But mostly, the guys should have communication down, but whether or not they're executing that is a question. Well, what have we been on here for? 41 minutes. That's, for me, that's kind of a short summary. But if nobody has some more comments or questions, I will end up cutting this short. Coming up this week, let's see, I did have a request to do a video about the 12-team playoff and how the selections are made, that sort of thing. I filmed it twice this week. It sucked both times, partly because I keep getting mad every time I do it, because it's all about money, and it kind of ticks me off that that's why they're doing this. But I am going to try again to get that video made. Probably be a video after the weekly press conferences. We've been getting, especially on Monday, we tend to get, several coaches and several players all on one day. We'll see if that's going to be standard. Coach Brown is probably doing a press conference right about now. So I'll try to put all of that together and comment again Monday or Tuesday. And then we'll eventually get the well, now actually tomorrow I need to do my Sunday answers for the Albany game. If you haven't noticed, every week I do Sunday questions before the game and Sunday answers after the game, and look at whether or not how my questions were answered, if they were answered. So that'll be coming up. And then we'll have the live show after the Pitt game. And I did forget to say, and boy, I gotta say this, please subscribe, please share. When this is showing on YouTube post live, please make comments there. Click the thumbs up, and be sure to tell your friends. The way things stand right now, at 500 subscribers, I can start doing some of the things like having a little donate button, having super chats, that sort of thing. I know all of you would really, really like to be able to give me tons of money. Yeah, because I know you guys have it all just lying around figuring out what you want to do with it. Last I checked, I'm 84 subscribers short of that mark. And it's up to you guys to get me there. It is a team, actually. Hey, we're a team. I can do part of it. And if you guys will do all of those things that make the algorithm happier, that will be a big, big help. Maybe think of it as a quarterback sneak, and you guys are there trying to shove me forward or shove my face in the mud. I don't know. Depends on whether I've treated you well at the time, I guess. Yeah, Adam, probably right. Pitt appears to be better this year. I hope when we win games this year, we're not going to hear, well, they weren't, as good as expected. We went through that last year, and people still use it as an excuse. I don't think it will resemble last year's game in terms of the score. Now, obviously, I hope Pitt doesn't score any more than they did last year, but pretty sure they're not going to be able to stop the West Virginia offense. But so yeah, what, Pitt, then Kansas. Now I can't remember if the bye week is before or after the Kansas game. Having 2 bye weeks is going to be a big help this season, and it's both of them are perfectly timed. So I think that is going to make a difference this season. Well, I got to go see who is doing all that crying outside the door and check whether or not Reggie has eaten. For those of you who've been following the story, Bob is doing significantly better. He keeps getting better, and hopefully we will eventually be able to give him free roam once again and hope it's not something he can re-injure. But in the meantime, Reggie has not been eating properly, so she is now here in isolation, and she is whoever's crying outside the door has her interested enough to be moving around more than she was. So I need to see if she has eaten. And then it is time to medicate the cats, which then leads to time to feed the cats. And more than likely it will be midnight or after when I get to bed, and then I get up to feed the cats and medicate the cats. Okay, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I know it wasn't the most exciting post-game show ever. Next week, I hope it will be more exciting, but also positive on all 3 sides of the ball. Now, special teams were pretty good. Kickoff coverage was good. Had 1 good punt return when Fox had the opportunity, and I think only punted once. It was backed them up. And yeah. So special teams does continue to be a positive. And I need to check. We did hire a special teams consultant. Nobody has really talked about what he is doing and how that has affected special teams. Maybe I'll need to remember and ask that during the Coach Brown show come Thursday, if it is on Thursday. Okay, guys. I am going to sign off here. I thank you for dropping in. We look forward to talking to you during the week. And then we can talk more after the win against Pitt. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you being here. And good night.